love you. I want you to know. I'm just getting my headphones connected here. Hey, come on through. You want to be on the pod?
Sure.
Who we got?
It's your girl Pia.
Hey, Pia.
Hey, who's on there?
It's Jake Fine, the one and only.
Gotcha.
Um, but my headphones aren't connected.
I just got a client at 11.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Or at 1. I
At one.
think that's a tablespoon.
Wow.
Yeah, no, we'll have to set up a time for a podcast for
We can
sure.
do that. I'm going to be here for a little bit because I'm going to watch some YouTube videos and take notes.
Okay, sounds good. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. So you hear that, Jake? YouTube videos and taking notes?
That's good shit right there, Danny.
Good shit right there.
I'll be here probably till like 3-ish.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. I'll talk to you then. Peace be with you. It's good.
Everyone's cranking, bro.
Everyone's cranking out.
Yo, I got a website.
Connected.
I made a
You
website.
made a website?
How fucking sick is that?
You said you made a website?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I got premiersocials.com.
Premier Socials? Is that what you're going to change all your content handles to?
That's the brand. I don't know. I mean, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, you're trying to figure it out.
Look,
I don't know. We're all trying to figure it out in this game of personal branding and marketing, which is, I mean, the reason why we get together, the reason why we connect, because you are a massive help with creating content, posting content, helping people establish their message and getting it to be as clear and concise as possible, and have conversations around some of these topics that we think about constantly and that add value to ourselves, and we add value to other people in the process, right?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm realizing it's like a combination of like playing the social media game of like posting all the time and doing all the little tricks and stuff when you're posting and posting on all the different platforms, but then it's also like telling a story that
Yep. Which is it's a hard thing to do, right?
yeah, I mean, we talked about it last time, but it was like I think the reason your gym is growing the way it is, and not just with clients and income, but also like the type of people you who are coming, like leaving where they are to come work for you. I think that's all like because of the brand you've built, and now it's just about like bringing that to social media and showing it in an authentic way. Now the challenge that I'm having is like, how do we make the message more clear for you? Like, how do we like make it more understandable and digestible to someone who's seeing your page for the first time? And I think that's where we got to take this, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, again, finding the difference between the personal branding and the gym branding, because that's like, those are whole separate entities,
Yeah,
right? It's like, if we figure out where to post, how to post, what's the most important way to post on what platform, like this is all the shit we're trying to figure out in the digital world. You know, if you got a head start on this 15 years ago, you're in a different position now, but that doesn't mean that it's not feasible today, just getting started today,
yeah,
right? It's almost like if you want to, it's not for everybody, but it's for most people. Like if you want to branch out and be an independent of some degree, you have to do your own branding. You have to do your own marketing. And like there's two pieces to the puzzle. There's the networking and there's making sales, and then there's marketing and branding and putting that out there and having the sales kind of come to you.
what
Right? You
I've
go out
realized.
there.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No,
Continue.
I'm just saying like you go out there and get it, or it comes to you because your branding and marketing is so powerful.
You know what's funny is I literally just recorded like a video about this today, like how what I'm doing with my social media is creating a brand that's supposed to like not just serve me and my business, but serve other people. But when you create a brand, it's a long-term play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
it's not, you can't just build a brand in one day. Like you can't just make a website, make a social media page, and boom, you have a brand.
No, dude, it takes hours and hours and hours and hours of making connections with people and providing a high level service and just doing that every single day. And
For
like you do
years.
it for years. And like you don't even think about the end point. You just kind of do every single day. And then at some point you get to a place where you're like, yeah, this is, you're starting to feel momentum. But I feel like, in my personal opinion, like my process in the last 5 years, kind of being an entrepreneur, uh, you know, person in the fitness business, marketing and branding your own personal brand, and then creating a gym brand and all that stuff. Like what I'm learning is that there are stages of your success, and the more that you're able to handle, the more will come to you, and the better you'll be at things, and the more you're able to understand things and systematize them and allow things to work for you so that you don't have to pay as much attention. But what I realize though, if you're where your attention kind of goes, things will get watered. But then when your attention kind of fades away and you put it elsewhere, it doesn't get that attention, it doesn't get as much love.
Yes.
Things can kind of wail, it can kind of like subside, and you may have issues. So like learning the game, learning order of operations, not the mathematical order of operations, but like as an operator, like what you prioritize, how you handle shit, then that dance that you have in your head about like getting stuff done or procrastinating, or getting stuff done and procrastinating. For me, that is like the ultimate line where I have anxiety. It's like if I know that there are things that need to get done and then I put them off or I don't do them to the best of my ability, anxiety comes. But if I'm organized and prioritize and get A, B, C, D done on the list, it frees up my brain and capacity to think clearer and be more creative and be more relaxed, knowing I'm taking care of my shit, the immediate shit, and then scoping out and planning for something longer and bigger, right? Like, does that make sense? You
Yeah.
have your day-to-day tasks, and
Yeah.
then you have like your quarterly tasks and goals, and then you have your yearly tasks and goals, and you look at these things out and you scope out, and it's like, what's the 1 to 5 year plan? And I don't think I like to go beyond 5 years. I
I
like
don't
to
even,
stay,
I think like the farthest I could think about is like 6 months from now.
and that's fine because like you're just figuring out how like to work
Yeah.
and learn about, just the way you operate specifically, like what's going to yield highest level outcome based on the work you put in, based on how you schedule yourself, based on how you're taking care of yourself. Because that's another thing too. Like if you're not taking care of yourself, your quality of output is going to be shit. And that's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that can get away with certain things and specific positions that they are in their life. Like younger folks can process information faster. They don't recover. It doesn't take as long to recover. You
Hmm.
can get away with not working out when you're younger and eating shittier or whatever. But at some point, that catches up to you. Lack of sleep, lack of hydration, lack of movement, exercise, lack of connection with people.
Yeah.
I also think there needs to be a balance of like, yes, organized structure, follow a line and be disciplined and get your things done, but there also needs to be an added element of playtime. There needs to be this added element of just letting your brain kind of go where it goes and paying attention to it. And I feel like there
Yeah.
you'll capture ideas, you'll feel more fluid, you're having more fun in your work, and it's not like strict, finicky, task oriented bull crap all the time, which comes with the territory, right? You're not going to love everything that you do, right? We talk about this,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of things that come with your goals and your dreams that you may not love, even though when you scope out, you love the process. Well, at least you teach yourself to love the process, but falling in love with this idea of achieving a goal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
I
there are just these small things that we don't always love all the time, and we're not going to be on our A game all the time, and we're going to get sick, and we're not going to feel great one day, and but we still have to show up, shut up, suit up, and fucking go out there. You know what I'm saying?
do you so have you know who Ryan Holiday is?
Yeah, dude, I read all his books.
Yeah, so
Well, I probably read five of them. There's obstacle is the way,
yeah,
ego is the enemy, stillness is the key,
I've read all of
discipline is destiny, and the last one, courage is calling. And that was made right during the pandemic,
them. Hmm.
where he's like basically calling people, you better now is the perfect time to stand up for what you believe in, and stand up strong for what you believe in, because there's a bid for power, and it
Huh.
takes courage to stand up for what you believe in. And the whole book is about standing up for yourself and finding that drive inside. And even though it might not be, and I'm paraphrasing, I mean, I don't, it's been a while since I read the book. I have to revisit it,
Yeah.
but that's what I got out of it. And it had an effect on me. Like, there were a lot of times during the pandemic where I was opening up this thing where I was unsure. And I talk about this still, the devil story. It's like so many insecurities pop up. And that's why you have to stay sharp physically, mentally, emotionally, because you're not going to feel right. You're going to have the days where your insecurities get the best of you. But yeah, Ryan Holiday, what were you talking about him for?
Well, he said something that was it was in an interview about one of his books. I can't remember which one. And I've read three of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I read Obstacles Away, this Stillness is the Key, and one of the other ones.
Ego is
Ego
the
is the
enemy.
Enemy. That's the first one I read. You told me to read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So in one of them he said he was talking about in the interview he was talking about Michael Jordan and how he would like tap into anger
Mm-hmm.
like to motivate his whole career. Like it was just fueled by
Mm-hmm.
anger and like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these negative emotions. And then he says like it like he told that story and then like kind of like talked about like the trail that Michael Jordan blazed behind him like of just like bad relationships, hurt feelings, like he like did a lot of damage to get to where he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing that horrible. It's not like he killed anyone or like not like he did anything like that terrible or anything, but like he definitely had this like negative aura about him. And then but he ended up like having, the six rings, being the best player ever, like $1 billion businesses and stuff like that. Like do you think that's worth it? Like do you think that's a good trade-off? Like trading your mental peace? And like how do you relate that to running your business? Because Ryan Holiday basically said like he kind of positioned it like it's not worth it. It's not worth that trade off. Like, what's the point in having all this success if you're gonna feel like shit?
Well, there's a caveat here. Like we don't know what it's like in the mind of Michael Jordan. And those were the emotional levers that he used and pulled to ignite the fire within him, right? Like we don't know what goes inside the bodies and minds of other people. So it's hard for us to say, is it worth it or is it not worth it? All we know is our own path and what we're willing to sacrifice and figure out and be self-aware enough to know which emotional levers you're pulling and pushing to fuel you and propelling you forward in whatever it is your endeavors are. Right? That's what Choose Your Enemies Wisely is all about. The book by Patrick Bet David. For the audacious few.
I need to read that book.
Yeah, you do, because it's not about necessarily having enemies and people hating you. Like I always thought to myself, I'm not the kind of guy that has enemies. I get along with a lot of people, but the fact is that there are times and places and situations in your life that have happened to you that made you feel specific ways. And then you have to ask yourself a couple things. One, how is that going to affect me? And two, what am I going to do about it? We live in the third dimension, baby. We have to act on shit. If we're going to create, we have to act. It's just
Mm.
part of our process. So we are in control of our effort and our attitude nonstop, right? And that's why it's so important to maintain health mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, because it anchors us. And then we have the ability to make the proper decisions, right? Not and you're going to make your decisions based on how you want to pull those emotional levers, right? And in Michael Jordan's case, like that was the way he's wired and he's motivated. It wasn't against the law. He didn't kill anybody, like you said. And that's what he used to fuel him in his industry. And who's to say that's right or wrong? Or is it worth it or is it not worth it? You know? Does that am I answering your question? Like I know that
Yeah.
there's not like a black or white answer, but I think this is the reality. And self-awareness, I think, is a major thing in the individual's journey, right? You talk about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, and that's what you're talking about. It's like these grandiose figures that we kind of put on a pedestal and we look at them and we glorify them to a certain degree. Is it always pretty and perfect and how they got to the top of the mountain, or the perceived top of the mountain that we think is there? But in reality, when you hit your own goals, you realize too, it's like, this is not the top of the mountain. And then you realize you're back in square one. and then you set more goals and you keep on going and you keep on growing. Like that's where we get into this like Buddhist mentality of like all we have is now and the present and enjoying the moment and not dwell so much. But we have to understand our past. We have to understand how that fuels us for our endeavors moving forward. And we have to be very aware of this type of stuff, or else our subconscious takes over and then we find ourselves in this rut in these pickles that we don't necessarily want to be in, and we wonder why, and we have this victim mentality, and
Yeah.
why me, why is this happening to me, when we have to look inward and really ask ourselves again, how is this affecting us? What are we going to do about it, and how are we going to feel towards this, you know?
So on that, like I've noticed at certain points in my own life that like there's certain instant gut reactions that I have to certain types of other people's behavior
Mm-hmm.
that that'll cause negative emotion in me, right?
Can you give me an example?
Somebody, let's say like let's let's say I have a client that I really care, like it's a really big deal for me, right? Like
Uh-huh.
if I decide I really care about the outcome of a relationship with somebody,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
then I might like then everything they do I might overanalyze. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like so I'm trying not to be too specific, but like let's just say like it's happened with me with girls before where like me and a girl start talking and then I like when but I catch feelings for them and then I become so like everything they say I overanalyze and they might say something that like doesn't mean anything bad, but I might take it a
Okay.
certain way. You know what I mean? And then
Okay.
I'll think
Okay.
back to my childhood, like where does this come from? Like it might be
Mm-hmm.
like it might like and it's like negatively affecting me and it seems like it's out of my control. It seems like my subconscious has like some defense mechanism that like is trying to
Yeah.
stop me from feeling negative emotions. So like I get my that's just an example from my life to set the stage for
Okay.
this question. How do you deal with like your like the insecurities from your childhood or like how do you heal those? Because I feel like that's a lot of what you do with like the meditation, the fitness, and like
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you talk about how like these deep rooted insecurities from your life can like come out in physical ways. Like how do you deal
Yeah.
with it? How do you
Well, I
go?
would like to say first that the fact that like I mean, there's a spectrum with everything, and you can be too much or too little on so many fronts, right? So the fact that you're self-analyzing is a good thing, right? Because you care,
Yeah,
right? You care about the person, you care about the relationship between you two, you care about the quality of outcome of whatever it is that you're collaborating with or
yeah,
you're collaborating for, or maybe it's just a romantic relationship and you want to create and establish something together for a family. Like it's stuff that's rooted in our DNA. So I would say that it's good that you are self-reflecting. Okay.
yeah,
Um, but when it comes to over analyzing, like if you find yourself at that point all the time, then I feel like you might have to move more, or you might have to find something, not find something, but I really think like the over analytical mind, that monkey mind that constantly thinking, should I do this? Should I have done that? What does she mean by that? Or what do they mean by this? And instead of over analyzing, like exercise, fucking get that gunk out of your head and
yeah,
let that become a default pattern. When you find yourself like this is what meditation is. It's you're breathing, you're thinking about the breathing, you start thinking about something else, you recognize your brain went astray, and then you bring it back. I feel like this might be one of those moments where it's like you find yourself in a relationship that you care about and it's building and you're building trust and you're developing respect towards one another and you're developing something for a greater outcome, whatever that is. And anytime that you let your brain or you find your brain going off into that monkey mode, like, oh, should I said that? What does she mean by this? Or what do they mean by that? Then you stop and be like, okay, bring it back. Did I exercise enough today? Am I moving around enough? Am I sitting in front of the computer for too long? Maybe I need to meditate. Maybe I need to do a cold bath. Maybe I need to do some movement. Whatever that maybe is. Maybe you need to just go for a walk. Whatever it is.
yeah,
Get back to what the facts are and like the real fundamental like drive for why you're working with that person or why you're spending time with that person or why it even matters. Like make sure you're clear on those things. And I think that comes back to a lot of the stuff that we talked about last time, which was like you work with people that have this similar core values,
Yeah.
right? Even if they're not said and open, like my core values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and what are yours? Let's match them. You kind of realize and learn about people the more you work with them, what they care about, what they don't care about, and you align with that. But when it comes to the overanalyzation, it's catching yourself when you're in those moments and bring yourself back to center. Be a professional and work.
So I guess to go deeper, like if someone is experiencing like some kind of like negative thought pattern, right? Where it's like
Mm-hmm.
tormenting them.
Or destructive.
Yeah. Or destructive habit, like or destructive reaction to certain types of situations. Like how do you go about healing that from a whole wellness perspective?
Uh, I need to know what negative is. First of all, like it's good to have resistance, right? Because sometimes there's so much positive in the negative.
Sure.
So completely fixing the negative, I don't think that's going to serve us. You just know that that's there so that it will sharpen you. And the more you're aware of yourself and like take time to help yourself in whatever way you need to. And it keeps coming back to some of those fundamentals: movement, staying hydrated, mineralized, getting quality sleep, making sure that you're at equilibrium, making sure your nervous system is in rest and digest, and that you are choosing your arousals wisely. You are choosing what gets you going, right? You're choosing how your emotions are influencing your behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
And
yeah.
you can rewire yourself for these good habits, in my opinion.
Yeah, like can you change like
Of course.
can you like like I'm not talking about if something is stress. I'm not like for example like when I say negative, I'm not talking about like if if something is stressing me out, like my business is stressing me out, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means I have, I care about my business. If it wasn't
Yeah.
stressing me out,
It's resistance. It's
yeah.
resistance because there's things that you need to do and you care about this and you want to keep serving people. So you have a responsibility. Congratulations. Step one.
So
Good.
that's not
But
what I'm
what else?
talking about.
But what are you talking about?
Like I don't know. I guess like because we were talking about the Michael Jordan thing, like
Uh-huh.
it you could like paint a picture where Michael Jordan is like this tormented guy, like inside, and like
Sure.
or like Tiger Woods is another example. Like he had all
Yeah.
this stuff going on outside, but he was performing great. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
guys like that. Like, do you think like it's clearly like there's something? It seems like there's something going on with them that's like probably negative, right? Like outside of their sport, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Tiger Woods, for example, we could pull this up. Like abusive father forced him to, work. But there was also, I mean, again, we don't know what was inside of his head,
Yeah,
right? David Goggins is another guy, another prime example. Like his childhood was a tough one. If you read his book, what's it called?
I did
His
read it.
first book.
Can't
His
hurt.
first book, Can't Hurt Me. Yeah. He goes into great detail about the relationship with his father and how he was forced to work at his father's roller rink where, so many high level, high profilers are coming in there. They were partying, drinking, and his dad was also abusive to his mother. And he goes into great detail about that and the whoopings he would get, him and his brother. And it's like, that's trauma, dude.
Yeah,
That's macro trauma. And he shares with you throughout his life how he personally dealt with it, you know? And like he talks about his struggle with his weight and his health and how, you know, he used all that motivation from when he was younger and channeled it into this being that he is today, a superhuman of a person, like Delta Force, Army Rangers. No, what is it? Yeah. It's Delta Force, Navy SEALs. I don't think he was a Green Beret. Well, what's the Rangers? I forget the Ranger one. But like all these high level um military, whatever. What do you call that? Military
Special
honors,
forces.
special forces. Yeah, he's on the one of the, he was on every single elite special force that's attached to Army, Marines, and
Yeah.
Navy. And that's only designed for a special few. And he would go to one and then move to the next one and go to the next one. And like at the end of the day, he was just channeling all that energy from the time he was young into something productive and of value to the world with this message. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, is it bad? Is it negative? Is it too much sometimes? That's for the individual to say.
Mm.
But everyone has their own journey, macro traumas, micro traumas. And I feel like self awareness is getting in touch with those emotional levers that fuel you and propel you to do the work that you do. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? I'm not sure.
So
Um,
do you think you can decide, like you can change your, like, can you, if you have a, do you think you can decide for yourself if it's good or bad and like change your mindset based on that?
I think so. I think that we're very malleable and I think that we can rewire ourselves. It's all about unwiring and uninstalling skill sets that don't serve you, recognizing that they don't serve you, and reinstalling new software. And that comes with repetition, that comes with scheduling, that comes with rewarding yourself and triggering yourself. A lot of this information could come up in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I love it. We're talking about all kinds of books and authors today. This is cool.
Yeah.
This is just stuff that I've kind of, you know, come across in the last like 6 years. I've been fascinated with audiobooks. Once I realized that I have this knack for um, holding on to more information when I hear it versus reading it, then I was like, okay, this is cool because I can get smarter. And then I started looking at being smarter, like building muscles, you
Yeah.
know? Like, how else can I teach myself to learn faster and understand how the nervous system works? Um, I mean, do I have that written out in clear steps? No. But what I realized is that when I'm at equilibrium, my nervous system is rest and digest. I'm able to get clear on what's motivating me and what turns me on. And then when I tune into that, I could then decide what book I want to listen to or what podcast I want to listen to so that I could absorb some of that information from whoever's speaking, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast. Like lately, I got into Gary Vee again, and he was one of the bigger influencers in the last 5 years. I read his book, Crushing It, which was the sequel to Crush It. And it basically talked so much about putting and sharing your story out on these social media platforms and growing a personal brand and all that stuff. It was a great way to channel the energy that I was looking to channel out of myself into the world and develop something from nothing because I was in a situation in my career where I wanted to change. And we talked all about that. And when you're in a situation where you have to like, figure it out, you figure it out. Um, so yeah,
Or
uh,
you don't. I get. So do you think like these great, like we talk about these all-time greats like that we like worship as like a
yeah.
society, right? Like a Michael Jordan, a
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods, a
Mm-hmm.
David Goggins, a Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys come from very traumatic backgrounds. So do you think like there has to be some of that to become very
Yeah.
great?
Yes. I definitely think there needs to be resistance. And ultimately, I think it's like, what is your definition of success too? Because there's not a definition of success, dude. Like my definition of success is when you're living in alignment with those core values. And when you could remember that day in and day out, even though you may not be where you see yourself in your dreams, to step back and be like, yeah, I'm living in alignment with those things that I feel. And that to me right there is a success. Like bad days, and Gary Vee was talking about this, like really bad days aren't when nothing's going wrong or something's going wrong with your business, but then when the bad days really come when there's things that happen to people in your circle that are bad, like losing a
Yeah,
loved one, getting sick, or something happens to a family member or whatever. Like that's bad,
yeah,
right? And I think we have to tune into that kind of thing more. Like that's hardship, or like, you know, that hurts when people around you are feeling that way. When it comes to your business, you get to a point, there's stages in this, right? Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's hard. And there also, it also depends on like what stage you are in your life. If you're a single guy, like, and you really believe strongly in this thing, like you're dedicating all your hours to this,
Yeah.
you know, like, and you're making it, and you want to make it feel fun and playful. And it's like you wouldn't be doing anything else. Cause like hustle culture kind of gets painted with like, put your head down and work for 18 hours until, until your work is done, then you can pick your head up. It's not necessarily like that. It's more like you put yourself in position to want to work 18 hours because it's so fun,
Yes.
and it's like a
Yeah.
hobby,
It's like a
but
game.
then
Like it's literally like a real life video game. Like I'm
yeah,
like, what do I want to do today? I gotta edit 2 podcasts.
yeah,
I gotta do all this work. And then it's like throughout all that, some kind of side quest is gonna come up where it's like,
for sure.
this guy wants to meet. I gotta go meet him before I can come
Yes.
back and do this. That's like just like a video game. Like if I'm playing like, you know, GTA, right? Like I might be in the middle of one mission, but then some side character comes up and says, "Hey, I got 50 gold if you go."
This is life, Jake.
That's literally real life. Like that's
Yeah.
something like that happened to me like the other day.
It's
Like
going to keep happening, and
it's
that's
like
good.
like I wanted to go, I had to accomplish something, but like to accomplish something, I had to go accomplish another thing and then come back and finish accomplishing the main thing. And it's literally like life is literally just a video game. So it's like,
So at the end of the day, it's like you have to trick yourself into getting excited about what it is those obstacles are the
yeah,
second you wake up. And
yeah,
then, you know, strategize and systematize accordingly as things develop and get busier. And, that's why they say delegation, stick to the things that you're strong at, and then delegate the things that you're weaker at. Like that type of stuff is extremely important too. But you learn all this stuff day by day, but like getting yourself motivated so that like, I run out of time at the end of the day. I'm in a stage right now where like I have to have a clear cutoff. Like when I'm done by 5, I have to be done because family time is a value of mine that I want to keep going. But I also think it's really important for my son to see that it's important to add value to the world. And you got to hustle, but you got to find ways that that hustle is more like a hobby. So it's like you're sharpening your skills, you're passionate about something, you're working towards a mission, and you're serving people ultimately. And that's a really good thing to show the next generation. And I want to show
yeah,
that. And I like talking about this stuff. That's why we're meeting together and we're talking about all these
yeah,
things, which is, it's so fun. Like I don't feel like this is work, but this is the fifth or sixth hour of my day that I knew I had on my schedule that I had to get done. And there was an array of things prior to this that I had to get done. And there will be an array of things after this that need to get done. And uh, again, just being on top of communication and systematizing things. And, I'm like the main operator at this place. So getting really good at what that looks like is what I'm interested in learning. So I'm taking in all this information from people who are high level operators and figuring out what they do so that I can embody it. And one of the most important things, especially when you have people that work in your space, is that like, and I learned this from Gary Vee, and this is something that I already intuitively knew, but it's like one of my biggest jobs is getting to know everybody that works with me here. And that's my trainers, that's the physical therapist, that's the chiropractor, that's my customers and everybody else's customers. It's like I need to get to know them on a deep level. Well, let's call it a personal level. So I know what their music tastes are. I know what they're interested in, what vacations they're going on, what they like, what they don't like, who they're
yeah,
friends with. And like you develop a rapport. And that's very, very, very valuable, man. And that's a major part of business. And people buy from people that they like. And that's what you got to stay true to. You got to stay true to who you are. You got to stay true to genuine connection with people, and you keep developing that and water the grass because you want to, and it's part of your daily tasks. And that's also integrated in all my admin work. Like your role as an entrepreneur evolves, and when you're ready to accept the next level of whatever is coming your way, I think the universe gives it to you. You know, it puts things in. I mean, I know it seems kind of like foo-fooey, but like I don't think that we're in this dance with nature. I think we're in this dance with the universe. We're one with it. And the more we make ourselves self-aware, the more we see highlighted areas of opportunity, in my opinion. And
That
we
that kind of
could,
has to do with the Terrence Howard thing, right? Like,
oh man, that guy's getting so much backlash.
so do you want to go into that?
Sure, let's talk about it. Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan. Did you listen to it?
I started. Yo, can
How
we
how
pause?
far did
Can
you
we
get
pause
into?
for a
How
second?
far? Yeah.
All right, my girlfriend thinks she's pregnant right now.
Are you serious?
Blowing up my phone right now.
Dude,
I,
don't turn this off. This is good. This is gold.
what? She's like blowing up my phone, like she's freaking out. Should I keep going with you, or can I call her really quick?
Uh, yeah, yeah. Pause, and then
Can
we'll
I,
come back
can I
to it.
pause this? All right,
Just
sorry.
pause it. I'll come
Yeah.
back to it. Oh shit.